Dan, I had a very interesting firewood delivery this week that I want to share with you.
Oh, well, I can't wait to hear about it.
It was very interesting, but it wasn't interesting because it was a firewood delivery. It was interesting. I took my high school helper along with me because we had to do some stacking. It was going upstairs, up steps, to the deck. And come on, I'm in my 50s. So I'm
Yeah.
being the brains of this operation. I took some youth along with me that could help me out. So what made this interesting? This is a young kid. He is a hard worker, but he doesn't have a lot of experience with vehicles and cars and stuff. And when we get about 10 feet down the road in my truck, he says, "Holy cow, this thing rides terrible." He says, "What's that awful noise?" Yeah.
Wow.
And I
Yeah.
was, I was
Okay.
like, yeah, I was like, what the heck did I bring you along for?
Yeah.
Yeah. But what made this interesting was he doesn't have a lot of experience with vehicles. He immediately noticed something that was wrong with my truck that was right underneath my nose that I didn't notice.
Oh,
So he's kind of like an outsider. And I recall sitting through a training course at my old job one time about embracing feedback and how feedback from an outsider is valid.
it's the best you can get. Yes.
Could be, could
Yeah.
be. Someone disinterested. He didn't know that he was going to hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just recognized that there's something wrong. And so, I got a tire that's kind of feathered that makes some bad noises chirping going down the road. And it becomes part of the scenery for me after a while. I don't notice it anymore, but an outsider gets right into the situation and they immediately notice it. And I think taking feedback from an outsider, I think it's important. You should always recognize that.
Yeah. I think it's always good to get, how does the saying go? A second opinion or a second set of eyes on things.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of times when those eyes are ones that haven't been looking at things in the same light, that's when you do get that good feedback. But
Yeah.
there are and I think that's one of the things that in the firewood community recently there was actually our good friend Brad at Firewood at the Furnace. He had some concerns about feedback that he may or may not get depending on how he was going to do something.
Yeah. Well, I don't know where you're going with this, Dan, because I was just simply telling you about about my high school help in this truck. This had nothing to do about anything else. But
Well,
since you bring it up,
we
let's
well
go
see
ahead.
we
Let's
we
go ahead
all
and talk
here on the
about
podcast and all the Woodhounds listening, we know there's issues with your truck. I mean, we know that. So, but with back to the what Brad was doing is he's in a position now where he put out a video contemplating selling unseasoned green wood, and one of the things he was concerned with was potential blowback from people out there buying it and then giving their feedback on it, and it
it.
would
Yeah.
hurt his business.
Yeah. So let's take a pause here though, Dan. And let's welcome everyone to the Woodhounds podcast. My name is Joe, and this is Dan over here. And we are two social media personalities, YouTube channels, and we thought we would just start a podcast one day. And next 3 years later, here we are. We're still doing it. So, if you are an unofficial member of the Woodhound community, you have a place that you're always welcome, and it's right here at the Woodhounds podcast. But we have in the past tried to avoid talking about specific channels because we didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings or leave anyone out. But in this case, what the heck? I mean, Brad, he went ahead and just threw it out there for everyone to offer up their feedback. And so we thought, let's give it to him through the podcast. And so Brad is the personality from the YouTube channel called Firewood at the Furnace. And he puts out a video about once a week. He does a live stream about once a month. And what's some more background on Brad? I guess he is a retired police officer, right?
Yes, from the state of Maryland, and I'll just say that I'm not afraid to give Brad my opinion. So this is on numerous things, and if he's
Yeah,
listening
well,
right now, he knows where I
yeah.
stand.
Well, I can one up you right now though, Dan, because I'm going to put on my hat right now. Check this out,
Oh,
huh?
look at that firewood at the furnace hat.
I have a Firewood at the Furnace hat that I will be wearing just to channel my inner Brad,
Ooh,
to offer him my feedback. But let's give more of a background just so people. So Brad is he's young still though, but he retired with a successful career in law enforcement. And he is the industrious type. He's just not going to sit around with an Afghan on his lap flipping channels. So he's busy, right?
yes, yep,
And he's got a hobby with firewood. And Brad seems to want to turn this into, I don't know, that's where I think when we analyze this situation that we could be talking about a theoretical Brad,
yeah,
because I think it ultimately is going to come down to what your goals are. But he makes firewood, he sells it, like he makes it throughout the year and he sells it in the fall as dry, seasoned. Is that about
right,
right?
correct. Yep, he started out, and I believe every year since he started, he's almost doubled his sales. I'm going to say, or the volume that he
Uh-huh.
was selling. So he is steadily growing, and I think he's kind of in that position of he's reached where the limits. Like he's not sure if he wants to grow anymore or not
Uh-huh.
because
His saturation point.
well, and yeah, and he works for his friend's tree service company, so he's a busy guy.
And that's where he gets his wood.
Yes. Yep.
You think he probably gets the wood as part of the relationship with the tree service? So he does not have a processor. He chainsaws wood and he splits it with a Easton made log splitter.
Correct.
And his practice has been to stack it. He has rows and rows and rows. I don't know. He lives on acreage, but he has a lot of rows of stacked firewood. And he I guess he sells it. Obviously, he's not doing this for fun. So that's where I'm just saying I don't know Brad well enough to know what his goals are. He strikes me as a person who enjoys making firewood, but he also enjoys selling it, but that he probably doesn't think or doesn't plan on getting rich doing this, like making it a full-time business, but he's also not going to do it for free either.
No.
Does
No.
that sound fair?
That sounds very fair. Yes, and I and
Uh-huh.
then and I think he's also, I think he is the type of guy that he values people's opinions of his product, and he wants to put out the best product he can. Like I
Yeah.
think he's got integrity. He's a man of integrity. He wants to make firewood, make it good for the customer. When they buy it, they know they're getting quality product.
Well, he has no business being on the Woodhounds podcast then. So I finally met, well, no, that's not true. I met him a couple years ago at Bunyan and we had a lot in common. I mean, we're both good looking and we both have daughters in softball, so he's nice. He's a nice guy. So I root for him. But he made the mistake of asking for people's opinions. And
And here
so
we are.
here's Brad. Here's your wood hounding experience. So let's not make this though about Brad because I think this is a very real question. It's like a crossroads that people always seem to come to when they deal with firewood. And um, I don't want to get into a deeper philosophical discussion about where all the labor is in firewood, but I think that's also in the back of everyone's mind too. And so now Brad sells firewood, and now he's thinking, well, maybe instead of stacking it or selling dry, I should just not just sell green, but maybe also sell green along with my other stuff. So he was worried that selling green is going to set him behind the eight ball come next fall, because you just can't make seasoned firewood. You gotta make it and stack it or store it in some capacity, and then sell it later next year. But
Yeah,
he thinks,
and
go ahead.
I think the what brought this all about was he had a couple customers asking to buy his green firewood from him now that he had planned to have for next year to sell. And so that's where he was worried about getting behind, but then also those people buying green firewood and then it doesn't burn and they start putting it out there that Brad's firewood is no good. So there was a kind
Yeah,
of like those two part, I guess, dilemma.
yeah. Well, I would think that second concern about his reputation, that could be managed, I think, with you know clear communication, written on the invoice, that kind of stuff. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not. I don't think I'm as worried for him as much. Well, I guess he's probably more worried because it's him, but I don't see that as a big deal. I don't see that to where someone's going to throw a rock at him over that. Do you? Am I?
No. No. And plus the other thing is, I mean, it would probably be on like social media and there, it's like everyone takes everything with a grain of salt anyway. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. But the other issue though about should he sell green firewood? So that is what Dan and we had talked about. What would we tell Brad? And here's what I want to say right off the start, Dan, and I want to get this right off my chest. When Brad did this video, he was literally standing in front of an empty woodyard. he was, he
yep,
was,
nothing there.
yeah, yeah. And this was mid-November before Thanksgiving, and he has sold out of all of his firewood. So right away, I'm thinking, well, I think two things. You're doing something right, number one. But I think there's some low hanging fruit there too, which would be Brad, raise your prices because you're selling out. You sell out before Thanksgiving. That tells me your prices are too low, and that there's a demand in your area for seasoned firewood. And now, if you're thinking of making that pivot to selling green, and what are your goals there? Do you want to make the same amount of money, or is this just something to get some cash coming in now, or is this just trying to set up another revenue stream? My knee jerk reaction is to say, Brad, what for, man? Why do you want to sell green? I think you're making more money if you were to sit on that, because you can practically double. Well, that's where I would like to know what he's selling his firewood for, because I would tell him right away, raise your prices.
Yeah,
People telling you no is good.
I'm not sure if he went in, if he disclosed that or not. If his price for green would be the same as his price for seasoned, or not, I don't know if he was selling
Yeah.
green or if the people that wanted the green wanted it for less. In which case, I'm in the same boat. Like I would say, if you want green, sorry, come back next year when I have it ready, and you can buy it then.
Uh huh. Yeah, I would be now. Okay, this is where we don't have Brad with us, or whoever the person is that we're analyzing their operation. I would suspect that he sells firewood to a lot of people that he has an established relationship with, and it probably is a personal challenge to raise prices because he's going to feel like he's violating friendships. And that's where you get a person that sells that style of firewood to where you're doing it more for fun, but you also want to get some money out of it for the time that you're investing. Whereas if it is a hardcore business and you're building a customer base and you're building profitability and increasing your margins, it's an easy choice. Raise your prices. There was that one kid that he he does yards, and when he first started it, he mowing yards. He was mowing them cheap, and then as he got into it and got better and got a better reputation and learned more about how he can raise his prices, he was dumping all of his original customers and bringing on new ones that were paying practically double what he used to get when he first started. And that is probably something that a person that's selling firewood is going to be faced with, where you don't want to like hurt feelings or tick off people that you have a good relationship with by an extreme increase in your prices.
Yeah, it can be a sticky situation to be in,
Yeah, but I
because
would expect that if you're selling seasoned firewood, that it should cost. I'm going to just say it. I think it should cost double of what you could sell it green.
yeah,
And that's even selling it as a cord. And you don't think that your market, your area can handle that amount, and I'm saying it can. It's just probably no one's really tried. I live in the Mahoning Valley, which you know if you're not familiar with it, it's one of the most economically depressed places in the country, and it has been for a long time. And I was able to do it out here. So if I can do it in the Mahoning Valley, I think anyone could do it anywhere. But if you're planning on selling green, that's the way I see it. Unless you are able to make it up with more production to get you where you need to be for the fall for next year, I would. My first knee jerk reaction is to say, I don't know, maybe you need to stick with the plan, but raise your prices.
I would probably agree. And generally, I think anyone looking to buy green firewood this time of year, they are planning to burn it this year. They are not
Yeah,
buying it. And if they truly are wanting it for next year, just tell them, all right, contact me in the spring, in this next summer, whenever. You know, don't lower your inventory now, getting rid of green firewood. And like I said, they probably want it at a discount, and that eliminates the need of worrying about bad reputation
yeah.
and impacting your inventory.
But
Just
why does that matter though? I don't see where the firewood producer should have. It's none of our business what the customer does with the wood. It's almost like you told the story of when you were selling. Your neighbor is going to give you the wood, and when they found out you were selling it, it changes everything.
yeah,
And I just don't see that though, because I mean, you can educate and stuff, but ultimately, whatever the person does with the wood, it's their business and not yours.
right. I think though, I think there's a lot of, I'm not sure if I went out on the street today and asked 100 people what green unseasoned firewood was, they would know. Like, I don't think people put it together that, oh, this, you mean I can't burn this? Like that's the whole thing.
Yeah,
Is I think that people that even advertised unseasoned or green firewood, I don't think people realize what it is. And so I don't know. I just, as a
yeah,
hobbyist, if I were to put out at the roadside stand that I had fresh eggs for sale and then all I put out there was a chicken, that's word's going to get around. I don't have fresh eggs. I just have a chicken. Like when you go to the store to get eggs, you don't come home with a chicken. You go, people want ready to burn wood. So if you're going to sell that, I don't know. I'm
yeah.
getting, I don't know.
No, I think you're onto it. I'm just when I look at his operation, he was telling the story in front of an empty wood yard. He had sold all of his firewood. So I just think that he's onto something. And green, come on. If you want to sell green firewood, then hey, what's one more? you know, it's like that's the way the majority it seems that firewood gets sold. And then there's a lot of people out there that have a chip on their shoulder about it too. Like it's not my, the customer. It's not my job to dry it anyways. It's the customer's job. And if they're buying their green firewood in the fall, then that just means they need to learn how all this thing works. It just seems that Brad has something good going on, and I would want him to keep at it because when you get down to it at the end of the day, if he wants to, let's just say if he was making an either or choice, he's either going to sell dry firewood in the fall or he's going to sell green all year, just split and
All year
sell.
long. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
split and sell. And he wants to make the same amount of money, knowing that seasoned firewood is worth at least double of what green is. It's too much work. and everyone's gets so upset about, touching firewood and stuff. But I'm just saying, split and sell. If he's got to sell 100 cords and produce it versus 50, who's working harder here? Um, I would just think that he's onto something. He's building a client base, a customer base. Maybe he doesn't want to grow anymore because that's as far as he wants to get it. Because when you got a lot of irons in the fire and you're running a chainsaw and a splitter, that's a good workout.
Yeah, and you
Yeah, but
do reach a capacity of where you can only produce so much.
I
You know,
think you do.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but that's where I'm. If he wants to make money, I think he sticks with what he's doing. I think once you go to split and sell, you're going to create too much work for yourself, and you're leaving way much more money on the table. Now, if you want to split and sell, go for it.
Oh
If
yeah,
that's how you want to make your
yeah.
money, go for it. If you have the supply, if you got the machinery to do it, if you got the desire, if you don't mind, if you got the DOT, whatever you got to have to pull a trailer with that much weight in it, go for it. And that's what our industry needs, variety. But just from the way I see things, that's a lot of extra work and a lot of extra wear and tear, making that much more extra wood.
So you're
And
saying
mhm,
sell less, make more, not make
yes,
more, make more, not make more wood, make more money selling
yeah,
less wood.
yeah. No, I am biased, okay, because that's how I do it. But Brad is selling seasoned firewood. The wood he's made, I mean, it looks good. I watched him load his trailer off of a stack, and it sounded awesome. You know,
Yes.
yeah. And I mean, the wood, it's stacked, it looks great, and he's put a lot of care into it. And I mean, if he was wanting to even sell less and still make more, there's a lot more that I could even recommend to him. But sticking to the selling green versus dry, but then I don't know if he was, I don't know what he sells his wood for. If he is selling green for pretty much the same amount, you know, um, well, I don't know. Take a choice there. Which
Yeah.
way would you rather do it? Yeah, but I would just say there is no seasoned firewood cannot it is worth more than green firewood. It is, because it's had more processing. Therefore, it's worth more, and you can command a higher price for it. So, yeah, I would, if he's doing it that route, I would say don't sell green. But if you can't get that high of a dollar amount for it, and you're kind of close, then go ahead and sell green. But I would still be caution you about all the extra work that's involved with it.
Yeah, that's a lot of well, it's the whole numbers game, the volume game. You know,
Yeah,
I think people that buy, if you establish a customer base of people who like your product, they appreciate the work you put into it, they appreciate the fact that when it's dropped off, they can burn it that day.
yeah,
They will be willing to pay more for it, and that to me makes more sense than I would rather sell a little less firewood but make more money.
yeah. Well, I can speak from experience here too, because when I first started, I didn't know what I was doing, and I have two residential customers that I had delivered a whole cord of firewood to them, and I still, because I consider them my OGs, I still deliver cheap, cheap. I mean, excellent firewood, but at a reduced price, just because of what they mean to me. There's that emotional connection that I have, and that I understand. But I think too, you can still pivot. You can still maintain your customer base, but start developing the new ones coming in. Raise your prices, but then keep the price close to, or maybe just increase a little bit for your returning customers. Talking about not sell, changing your quantities, and increasing presence online, the website and stuff. We can talk about that on another episode. But that is the biggest thing that I saw with that whole video was his wood yard's empty, and it wasn't even Thanksgiving. So, you sell out of all your wood. As a business person, I'm saying raise your price, but that may not be important to him.
And I think that his customer base knows him. They've gotten to know him. And I think that's why he's been able to grow the way he has.
Yeah.
And I would stick with that as well. I think that, I don't think there's enough focus paid to the customer and their experience and their thoughts and their feedback. Like, I think too many guys are in this mindset of it's just firewood,
Yeah.
like they don't value the
product.
season part of it. Yeah. The process
Uh-huh.
of it. They don't. And I think that's what then, bleeds over into just everyone selling whatever they have.
Yeah. And that's what you don't have to feel bad if you have a customer that wants to buy green and you don't have any, or you don't want to sell it to them. There's no need to feel bad, because firewood is plentiful. It's sold everywhere, and he'll find another one. And those are the ones too that'll want to beat you up on the price. They'll want a multi-core discount,
Yeah.
as if they're not getting it cheap enough as they are. It's just a complete different market from seasoned.
Right.
And yeah, I would like to see him stick with it based on that. Now, I am a firm believer that your business is your business, and whatever you want to do is good enough for me. But hey, he made the mistake by asking us.
Yeah. And just a quick circle back to that. Have you ever heard of cutting edge firewood?
I have.
Yes. So
That's major league, huh?
I saw an ad of theirs this morning, and this is what their ad read. The very first line: "This isn't just firewood; it's a fireside experience."
Yeah.
Right there. That is the mindset that more and more firewood producers need to get into.
Yeah. Well, that is, we need to do a whole episode on commodity, because
Yes.
that is the opposite of firewood as a commodity, and the ways that you can increase the value of a commodity. And I don't care what it is, cantaloupes, electricity, there's ways that you can add value to it. And what that guy did down there, I saw them on Fox News before too. And like Terry Bradshaw.
Yes. Yep.
Well, yeah. Yeah. So that is, that's value added firewood there at a major league level. It makes what I do look like Mickey Mouse. How, because I was on that guy's website and seeing holy cow, what they charge for firewood.
Right.
Yeah. It made me want to raise my prices again.
Yeah. So there you go, Brad. Hopefully you get a chance to listen to this, and we're rooting for you either way. Don't get wrong, but yes, you did make the mistake of asking for an opinion.
And he gave me this hat too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dan, are we even credible enough to have done what we just did?
Are we SMEs?
Subject matter experts, huh?
I don't know if we're a SME or not, but I'll tell you
I need a bumper sticker on the back of my truck that says, "Don't follow me, I'm lost."
Yes.
And I tell everyone too, I don't know what I'm doing. All I did, I threw my hat in the ring, and I'm just figuring it out. And I'll just tell you what I've learned along the way. It doesn't mean that it's right or wrong, but it is my experience.
Well, and that's just it. We're speaking from our experience and giving our opinion, insight, whatever you want to call it. But I don't think we're up here lecturing and preaching that we are the end all be all know all.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know me pretty well. I kind of view myself as the opposite of that, but whatever.
And hey, if we come across that way, then I guess, oh well. I don't know what to do. This is who we are.
We're not talking about professional wrestling here, Dan, so you can chill.
All right, fine.
All right. Well, I hope Brad took that in the spirit of people that are genuinely rooting for him And I hope that if that didn't confuse him, that maybe it just gave him some, I don't know, maybe he'll be asking for his hat back here. I don't know.
Yeah. Keep an eye out for Facebook Marketplace. Log splitter for sale. Maryland was Maryland. I'm getting out of the firewood business.
Yeah, he's getting out of the firewood business now. He can take up professional wrestling now.
Oh, he definitely could.
Yeah, he probably could.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dan, let's fire up the band.
Strike it up.
Can we do that?
Strike up the band.
Fire up the band here.
Oh, fire up the fan for firewood at the furnace. That's what
yeah. All right. Well, there's more F's than that than were on my report cards back in high school.
Well, thanks everyone for tuning in to the Woodhounds, the #1 firewood podcast in the world, each and every Wednesday morning on your favorite streaming platform.
Yeah, and please consider giving us a 5-star review. It does help us out with being found through those algorithm things that you hear about. So, Dan, how about this? Let's say, go ahead and do
whatever you want.
And buy your firewood at
the furnace.
There you go. And have
a great day.